Hey guys, welcome back to Cornucopia Bros. I'm one of your hosts, Aaron.
And I'm your other bro, Jacob.
Oh, I see you're changing up on me.
No, that's what I said last week.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, well, I wasn't paying attention.
I said I'm the other bros, Jacob.
So before we get into a bit of news, if you ever listen to our other podcast, Cornucopia Cast, you'll know who cracks the pop cans when we start their fault on this podcast.
Yeah, surprisingly, it's neither of us.
It's the other ones on the other pocket. Yeah. So, what is today's topic? Well, first of all, I hope you guys enjoyed last week's topic. We're not talking about that again. We're not talking about anime anymore. At least not.
We're going to be skirting around it.
Today's topic is collecting.
And collectibles.
Collecting and collectibles. So, I mean, let's throw some things out there. Are you a collector in video games?
Yes.
Are you a collector in comics?
No.
Yes. Are you a collector in collectibles? Like figures?
Yes, I collect collectibles.
I didn't know. I should have said figures. Okay, my bad.
I enjoy collecting collectibles.
What else can you collect?
Books.
Yeah, you collect books, vinyl. Even though we're not really vinyl collectors.
No.
Our dad is a vinyl collector. Well, used to be.
Back when they were the in thing.
Yeah, actually, once vinyl went away, he's like, well, I'm not going to collect this anymore, and gave up. Magazines, anything. Anything you can collect, you could be a collector. And we collect some things.
Lots of things.
So we, in the past, I'd say, I mean, we've always had figures in our lives, but they were usually toys. They're like Transformer toys, or like Hot Wheels. I had these they weren't Gundams, but they were knockoff Gundams that didn't last long.
Knockoff Gundams.
Yeah, they. So I have four of the toys, and you put coins on them or something. We had a BattleBot. No, not BattleBots.
Metabots?
Metabots. That might have been it.
Did you put a coin on those?
You had some type of thing you put into them, and it unlocked something. I mean, I really didn't. So
I don't know.
I've only collected 4 of them because they didn't really make that many. That was back when we were kids. So we kind of, and we didn't have a lot of money. We had to do chores around the house to actually get paid, and neither one of us really wanted to get a job until we were 18. So we just kind of did chores, and then
except for like how we talked about last week when we did the magazine.
Oh, true. But that was more of that was more of a chore, I would think. Than,
I mean, we got paid good money.
But so we
for being like 12.
True. Yeah, being under the age. Back when we were young, it might have changed for you. You might have been just on the tail or the beginning of the. When I was 14, you could work, but I think that shortly changed after I turned 14. That they go, okay.
No, you could still do the corn husking. That was like the only thing you could
do.
You either corn husked or you didn't get paid.
But like, if you wanted to work at a movie theater, you had to be 16 or something. But anyways, so we recently, and I say recently, it was probably back in 2014, Amiibos came out.
Yes, the bane of my existence.
Now, you got the first Amiibos.
Originally, I had only intended to get a Link and a Ganondorf.
And mine was, I was going to get Fox, and I really didn't have too many I wanted to get at the time. But the problem is once you collect one,
once you pop, you can't just stop.
So I don't want to say I had a good paying job, but I had a job that I was getting $10 an hour, and I was like, well, I can invest in getting these figures. So I started buying these figures, and then you started going, wait, subconsciously you were like,
It was, you can't have more amiibos than I do. I love Nintendo more. I must have more.
So you start getting more, which then would make me want to get more. And then we had our other friend Josh, who was competing with us. And
Very loosely competing.
He did come out and compete. He did say he was competing, but not like he was actually trying to get more, because we were just... When we get our heads in something, it's like, we're going to do it. You know?
Yeah, it's one of those, like, you're hard to get motivated, but as soon as you're motivated, nothing shy of the apocalypse is going to stop you.
Yeah. So then Oh, go ahead.
And then we just started buying a bunch of them off Amazon because, like, nobody had them.
Yeah, this was back when stores would get them, people would instantly hoard them. And we'll get into that about hoarders. No, is it hoarders or
scalpers?
Scalpers. We'll get into that and what our opinions are on that. But then I moved over to Disney Infinity. So I was like, oh well, the Disney Infinity characters go well with the amiibo. So I was like, well, I'll start collecting those.
Yeah, I looked at those and said no.
Yeah, there's some of them. Some of them were pretty bad. I definitely regret to this day buying the Johnny Depp clear
Jack Sparrow.
Oh, god damn it!
I mean,
who's Johnny Depp?
The guy who plays.
Oh,
Jack
that's okay. I'm like, I said the name, and I'm like,
I mean, at least you said the right actor.
But getting the Jack Sparrow character, because they had two. Because this is when they're like, oh, we can really start. This is like the high craze of amiibos. Disney Infinity, and then Skylanders. Because Skylanders was I don't want to say originally started off, but they're the ones that kind of said, oh, we can make...
Yeah, they were kind of the first toys to life.
And then Disney Infinity showed up.
I think Amiibos came first, or came after.
No, I think Disney Infinity came first. And then Amiibos. Because I remember Nintendo being like behind the ball on it. Because Nintendo didn't... I mean, they put out like Mario. They didn't really put out Link stuff. Like any, it was
they put out a lot of Link things, but those things go fast.
But now, if you look now, if you go into Walmart and if you go into the front checkout lines, they have figures of like Link's, Mario, Splatoon. But like, it's just 5 years ago. You can only really find Mario stuff, and then maybe the bigger franchises. But like,
I mean, you'd have to go to like a specialty shop if you wanted to find more like things that weren't Mario.
Right. So yeah. So then I moved into collecting a couple. I never liked really the styles of the Skylanders, but there was a couple that I saw that I was like, oh, these are pretty cool, so I'll get those. And then that led into, well, now I'm going to start collecting bigger figures. But my limit was $50. Because again, I'm only getting $10 an hour. So I'm like, well, if I really like this character, I'm going to get it. And the first big statue that I got was a Horizon Zero Dawn Aloy figure. Because I really liked the game. So I was like, well, I'll go out and get the figure. I think it was only $50 on eBay. So I was like, well, I'll buy it. And then I started getting... I think I kind of slowed down at this point. Because I stopped paying attention to you, and so I was like, oh, well, I don't really need to go out and buy more figures. And then the urge came back, and I was like, okay, I need to start buying more. And I'm not gonna go through every figure that I own or why I got it, but moving up until 2020, when the pandemic happened, GameStop was like, hey, we're gonna run sales. And we're going to run sales on all our fucking shit because we're losing money for not having our stores open. And we're already bleeding real fast right now. So let's just give out more shit. So then there was a bunch of figures on there. And I always love going to GameStop because there's always scalpers. Okay, so let's just get into it now. Don't buy shit from scalpers. That's just my opinion because... they are the bane of existence of collecting things.
Yeah, don't award them.
They ruined Amiibos, and Nintendo got back at them. They're like, "Hey, we're going to release a bunch of Animal Crossing figures," basically killing the Amiibo market. But I've only bought one thing from a scalper, and that was there was a figure. It was Jim Lee Batgirl figure that I was eyeing at GameStop for like back in 2019, and I think it was $40, and I was just like, I my limit's 50, but it's 50 for something I really want, and I didn't know if I really want it, that figure, so I just kept buying it, and then GameStop did their sale, and I got it in my I purchased it online, but when it came to go pick it up, they're like, oh, that was we actually really didn't have it in stock, so well, we won't pay you because it was only $10. So a figure that was $40 was now $10, and so I'm like, oh well, I was really looking forward to getting this figure, so I bought it off of eBay from a scalper, and I think he's a nice guy. He sent me a couple messages, just like thanking me for purchasing, giving the money, but everything I've seen on his page has been shit that came from GameStop, and he has like 4 or 5 items of each thing, and I'm like, this motherfucker's a scalper. So I know I say don't buy shit from scalper unless you really, really, really want it. And okay, so the only reason I bought it from him is because it was $40 from him. So technically, I wasn't paying any more than what I would have paid at GameStop. So I was like, well, I guess I'll just buy it. So you got anything to say?
So I guess you can call it an addiction to buying figures and other collectibles. Started much the same way with the Amiibos. I didn't get into any of the other Toys to Life thing because I was like, I don't really care about these.
Oh, and I will say, with the Disney Infinity, I did play the game, so I wasn't just collecting them. I was actually playing the game. So
and then I think I just started looking at figures online. Like I would just get on Amazon and be like, hey, No, what happened was I went into GameStop one day, and they had a Dark Souls figure for like $40, and I looked at them, I'm like, if I don't buy this, I'm not getting it. I'm never going to see it again. So I picked it up, and I'm like, yep, just put this in my bag. And then they released like 4 more Dark Souls figures.
And you're just like, well, I guess I gotta get that one now.
I'm like, well, you gotta get this one too. And then there was a Bloodborne figure, and I'm like, well, gotta get this one too. And I was pretty good about keeping it like under $50. Like Aaron, I was also hesitant to spend more money. And then I guess fast forward to last year, I got really into God Eater, and I'm like, I would like some figures.
And those things aren't.
I mean,
they're not expensive, but they're not cheap.
I got lucky. The 2 that I got were both like, I think $80. But like, I would look for more figures, and as the weeks went on, I would look at them and like, we want 130 for this now. Yeah. We want 170 for this now. It's like, whew, it's a good thing I got it for like 80.
Yeah, that's the thing with Amazon is they fluctuate on price, which I don't get because you'll go back and it'll be like, oh, this isn't too bad. It's $80, and then you go back like the next week and it's like, oh, Jesus, 130, and then it'll go back to 80, and you're like, well, fuck, I better pick up now. And that's how I get you because they know it's only worth $80.
Yeah, so I occasionally buy figures that of characters I like, and I try to keep it under $50. And a lot of it's like I can rationalize like, well, I'm not buying anything else this week, so it's fine.
Right.
Like I can still survive if I spend $50 on something else.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing is to not buy stuff if you need to buy food or pay the bill or something. If you have money to spend, spend it. Enjoy your life. If you're,
yeah. And then the other thing I really got into collecting was books. And I blame you for this.
Yeah, I did.
So, I'm just chilling at home one day. Aaron strolls in. He's like, yo, I bought you something.
Wasn't it for your birthday or Christmas?
I think you just bought it. I don't think it was for either.
I was that nice to you? I was
Yeah,
like...
because you were at a...
Was it the Zelda book?
Yes, it was the Hyrule Historia. You just stroll in, you're like, here you go, Jacob. I'm like, fuck, this is really nice.
But it's in by itself. It needs something else, so...
And then it's like, they go ahead and they release another one that's like an encyclopedia. And I'm like, well... That's pretty cool too.
It would look nice to the other Zelda book that I got.
And then they release a third one, which is just like art and stuff. I'm like, man, that one goes with the other two because it's red and the other one's blue and the first one's green.
I actually blame you for blaming me because you got me into collecting books as well. Because I started doing it because every time I come over, so in my room everything's dark. So you can't really see shit. And so when you come into your room, everything's like bright. You can see everything. And I'm like, oh, when we're sitting down playing games, I'm like, oh, look, there's all these books. And, because you actually collect the video games and stuff too. Like you'll buy the collector's edition, so you get stuff in there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, fuck, that looks really cool. So,
but yeah, no. So then they did the Super Mario book, the encyclopedia up to 10 and 15. I'm like, well, I gotta have that too because look at it's right there.
Yeah.
Then there was an Odyssey book. Then there was a Breath of the Wild book, and then yeah, the collector's editions. Sometimes those have like art books in them, and, like the Xenoblade ones. Those are huge books.
Oh yeah.
Those are like 200-page books, and like they're big. They're not these like little flimsy paperback. Here's 10 pages, like Sekiro's.
Yeah.
That one's bad. It's so small. It's just, here's what the characters look like. Go nuts.
Yeah, that's the worst part when you get the... I wish companies would make a book that looks like a book instead of just going, hey, we're just going to make... We just found this laying around, and we like this design. It doesn't fit in anything. It doesn't fit standing up. It doesn't fit, sitting horizontal.
Oh, yes, like my my collector's box for Deus Ex. It's just a triangle.
Yeah, it's like, really? Come on.
It's just it's the most awkward triangle, and it just sits there. I'm like, I don't know why I bought this. I mean, it was only $20. It came with a figure, two art books, and it came with 2 figures, actually.
Yeah, that was a pretty fucking good deal.
And, yeah, no, it was just a whole bunch of Deus Ex stuff. I'm like, you know what? Fine, whatever.
Now, okay, before we go too far off of figures, when you look at figures... What do you look for in a figure? Because I bought a Reaper figure. Yeah, I'm not a big Overwatch fan, but I like the character designs.
I can't believe you're 14. I never knew.
I know. But it was $50. This was not. It actually might drop down to 35.
I thought it was 100 initially, and then it dropped.
Yeah, this was one of those figures that the price fluctuated on the time and day. And so I got it, and it's essentially a toy. It can stand up as a figure, but it's like when I look at certain figures, I can pay more for a figure if it's stationary, if it just looks like a statue.
Yeah.
Then I don't want to pay for a toy that's $70, and you can see the lines of the legs. Mm-hmm. Like you can tell where this leg connects to this leg. Like McFarlane, he does figures, and I collect a bunch of Fortnite. Surprise, surprise! I'm a big Fortnite's like the one game that I'll drop a shit ton of money in. It's embarrassing, but he can make the figures, even though they're set up almost looking like toys. He can blend them into looking like an actual just statue.
Yeah, they're called prize figures, I believe.
Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
Oh, cool! I didn't know.
I think that's what they're called.
I'm not.
I'm not into it. I'm not like a super nerdy collector guy.
Because I've seen, and you don't have to tell me what figure it is, but I've seen a figure that you told me the price, and I'm like, I looked at it, I'm like, you paid that much for this thing, and like I said, you don't have to say what it is, but.
So, my rationalization is, I would prefer to get a prize figure, but if it's of an obscure character and the only thing you're going to get is a Figma, I will settle for the Figma. Because, like, damn, do I want that character.
Right. Yeah.
I will settle for it. I do not want it. I would prefer it to be, like, stationary.
Right.
But if it's my only option, then I'm going to get it because it's my only option.
Yeah, that's something for me too.
But to be fair, I've only had one regret on that. And I got something good out of it anyways when I got rid of it. So, it's fine.
Yeah, oh shit, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something.
Probably about how you don't like Figmas and how they're posable and they look goofy.
Yeah, there's some characters. I started adding, so I have a bunch of Transformers I bought as a kid, and they're essentially toys, but they're cool enough they look like actual figures. And I remember Vinny off of Giant Bomb. He was talking about how he has a Transformers collection, and that's the only reason why I was like, oh, I could put those in mine because I completely forgot about them. And so like I literally have in my collection, I have a bunch of toys I bought as a kid, along with a bunch of figures that I bought today. And so it's interesting just kind of where I've placed them because like, well, some of these actually blend in, you know. So,
you know, you never did talk about how you bought a whole bunch of wrestling figures back in the day.
Oh, yeah. So
that's kind of your start.
Yeah,
and I guess my start was buying the Transformers.
You're right. I bought I don't know if this was my first one, but it was one of my first. I think it was my first figure. So we'll eventually get into how we got into video games. We've talked about it in another podcast, but we'll get in more depth on this eventually someday. But I was a huge wrestling fan. I fell head over heels on wrestling, and there was a wrestler named Rey Mysterio. Well, you know, I looking back, it's like, oh yeah, I think every kid just likes Rey Mysterio. For some reason,
it's the mask.
I think it's the mask. But you know, there's a lot of other characters that wear masks, and it's like well, I really don't have. Maybe not. Now,
at the time, it was really only him.
Yeah.
And everybody else was just kind of a no-name.
Right. But there was guys from like WCW that had masks, and I don't know if there was like a guy named Psychosis, and he had a weird looking mask. So I don't know if But anyways, so I got a figure of him. It was a pink Rey Mysterio, and I remember I loved that figure, and I was like, well, you can't just stop at one.
Well, yeah, you just gotta have somebody to wrestle.
And Shane, our neighbor, and Caleb, they also had wrestling figures. Caleb got them after Shane and I did, but you know, I would buy a figure, and then Shane would buy a figure, and then I'd like, well, fuck, I better start, you know, better get there and mow the lawn because I need to get another figure. So I got like all these. I probably have like maybe 30 to 50 wrestling figures. Probably more close to the 30 side. But I don't have them all displayed. But I was like, oh, that's another thing I could put them on the shelf as well. You know, fill in the spots that are empty.
Yeah, and then give Rey Mysterio a plasma sword.
Yeah. I bought a Halo guy because I'm like, you know, I want to have.
His name is Chief.
yeah.
Halo Chief.
In my head, when you say Halo, I just automatically think it was just Master Chief. That's actually kind of a joke. Yesterday, I bought a bunch of comic books, and they're $100. They're $1 a piece, and I handed the guy 4 20s. And in my head, I'm thinking they're quarters, so I'm thinking it already makes $1, makes 100. And the guy's like, "You only gave me 80." I'm like, "Oh shit." I don't deal with cash that much. It's usually a card. But yeah, so I bought a Master Chief figure, and I gave Rey Mysterio the sword, and his mouth's open. It's like ah. So he's like charging you with the sword. So I gave Carlito. I like Carlito's design, just of his hair and stuff in his jersey. No, it's not a jersey. It's
his jacket.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
His unbuttoned shirt.
His Caribbean jacket. I don't know if
his
that's
unbuttoned shirt.
But gave him the sledgehammer. I gave Kane. I gave him a water bottle and a suitcase because I had the money in the bank thing. And so I give him funny poses. And then I have like a Batista, and I liked the title, so I liked having like John Cena and Batista up front with the World Heavyweight and WWE title. But yeah, you're right. I completely forgot about them.
I mean, don't worry. I forgot about my Transformers habit that I had back in the day.
So we weren't in on the first Transformers,
No.
but the Transformers that we got were pretty cool. And then like looking back, they started to just kind of like give up on like design wise, like.
Look, kids can't figure out how to transform them. Let's
Dude,
just make it really easy.
I was going back and I was trying to transform one of them because I'm like, he doesn't stand up properly by himself. So I'm like, let me transform him back into his other. It was Jetfire, the good guy.
Yeah, the big one.
Yeah. I could not for the life of me figure out how to turn him back into a plane. And then this other figure, I'm like, well, how the fuck do I turn you standing up? And I remember he was a villain. And so like I couldn't figure that one out. So I'm just like, as an adult, some of them are, but there's like...
I had one when I was getting ready to set them up in my display case. And I'm like, okay, let me just transform these real quick, see if I can still remember how to do it. And like one of them, all it is like you just kind of like fold him backwards and boom, he's done. That's it. Like you just kind of like scooch his legs up 90 degrees and then you like pull the top half backwards and it's just that's all he is. That's how he transforms.
There was no one that you gave me back when you weren't collecting anything. And you're like, well, I really don't have any use for him, so I'll just give him to you. And he's not a female one, but he has high heels type ones, and he's a motorcycle, I think.
I don't remember this one.
I can't figure for the life of me how to get him to stand up straight. So I tried to transform him back into the motorcycle. And I can't do that one either. I'm just like, well, I guess he's just gonna go back in the bag.
Yeah, I had one that was like a police car. I think it was like a rescue car or something, and I'm just like, wow, you look stupid either way. Whatever, just back in the box.
But I guess moving on. So I would define myself as a everything collector. I collect a little bit of everything. It's kind of whatever the mood I'm in that time of the year. So I've always wanted to have a comic collection. So I started collecting comics. We'd go to Walmart and they would have DC would have these giant comics. They're like they're not 50 pages, probably like 30.
I thought they were 100-page giant.
Oh, okay, maybe you're probably right. They're probably 100. So I'm like, well, shit. If I'm gonna pay because comics aren't cheap. So I'm like, if I'm gonna buy these comics, I'm getting these big giant 100-page comics. I haven't read any of them. I want to read them. So I started getting those, and then now they're releasing both DC and Marvel. They release three packs, and so you can get like random comics in those. So I was like, okay. So, but our local video game store, somebody brought in a bunch of comics, and it was just funny because I've been eyeing them for the past like 6 months, and then once the pandemic happened, I was like, oh shit, well I lost my chance if I ever wanted to look at them. So, I was just like, and I'll admit, I'm kind of a little bit embarrassed of buying comics. I don't know why. It's still the perception that, oh, he's a nerd or whatever. So I'm like,
whatever. You got the money to make yourself happy. That's all that matters.
Yeah. So
That being said, I don't want people I don't know coming into my room to look at all the stuff that I'm hanging
I thought
on
the
wall.
same thing too. When I'm like, well, shit. I hope because in my room there's pipes and stuff that go over, and there's a outlet that's above my room that needs to be replaced, or not replaced, but there's a cable for TV that needs to be installed, and that has to go through my room. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want people in my room looking at all the shit I got, But anyways, so I was like, well, instead of buying 1 or 2 comics, I'll just pick the whole box up and I'll take it over. So the guy counts it. It's like 106 comics, so it's $1 a piece, 106. So now I have like this nice little collection, and I went back in yesterday after our podcast we recorded. Aaron's like, hey, we should go to a GameStop or something, and I'm looking for this game. They ended up buying it off of Amazon anyways. But they had more. I was like, more comics. I was like, okay, I'll buy them. So those kind of go with my books. Not right now, they don't, because I'm putting everything on shelves. And paper is the bitch to put on shelves, because when you start, one paper's not bad. When you start adding them up, it starts to become a excessive weight. So I gotta distribute them equally, and I don't have enough shelf space. So they're sitting in the box right now. But once I get off my ass and get that shelf built, I'll start putting them back up.
So it's funny. I've been looking around the room as we've been talking, and I realized I have failed to state that I also collect wall art.
Oh yeah,
and canvas art. Like, I got really into canvas art.
Yeah, you're like, I'm gonna go to Target.
It's weird. Target actually has a lot of cool like video game canvas art, and like I bought a whole bunch of them, and they're usually like pretty cheap too. So yeah, no, like I've got posters like hanging up all over the room, and it's kind of excessive.
it really brings light to the room.
You can come into my room and you can be like, oh, I see what he likes.
Yeah. Not a single girl.
That's true. That's very true.
So the room that we're in now used to be my old bedroom at the house, and I would have a bunch of wall art of girls on there, and it's now changed from girls to Link's upskirts. I'm just looking at the one over there.
It's mostly Legend of Zelda posters, and the one he's referring to is
looks like Mario's on the bottom.
It's Link's Awakening, one of its artworks, and it's Link jumping, and you can.
If he were to move his leg, you might see a little bulge. I'm just saying.
You probably see more than that. But getting off of that topic, yeah, there's a few Pokemon ones, I guess, but yeah, it's mostly Legend of Zelda posters.
And actually, looking at the My Hero picture too, I start collecting anime, and I talked a little bit about this last week, so I won't talk too long on it. But I've been starting collecting anime DVDs, and I did break my rule. I was telling you guys about the Rising Shield Hero last week, how it was $80, and I was like, with the pandemic and how shit is, and this reinforces. So Aaron was looking for Hyrule Warriors on the Switch. It's essentially sold out everywhere that he is, where we're at, and even online it's hard to find. So this kind of reinstates like, well, shit, if you want something, you better get it now, because there might be a chance that you're going to have to pay a premium with scalpers and.
That goes back to. My one regret with Dark Souls 3 is not buying the collector's edition. Because I can't find that. And I really wish I could have, because it came with an exclusive figure.
Well, that's the thing. Back before the Amiibos came out, they had a figure at GameStop, and it was Link. It was the Breath of the Wild figure of Link riding the horse, and I think he had the bow and arrow, and that sat there for $50. Maybe 75, somewhere in there. And it sat there for months. Maybe not months, but probably like 2 or 3 months. And I remember looking at him going, I don't need that. I don't collect shit. And now it's gone. It's been gone. And it's like, fuck, that would have been nice to have. Because they did re-release it. Well, not re-release it. They did release a Amiibo version of it.
I've got both of them, yeah.
But the Amiibo version looked, I don't want to say terrible, but it was like it was not the first wave, it was like the second or third wave.
I mean, it was 3 years into the Amiibo. The problem with the one on the horse is that he's got a hood on. And
yeah,
they didn't do anything with his face.
Yeah, it's just terror.
It's just like flat. But I mean, his face isn't the focal point, so I guess that makes sense.
So it's like, now looking back, it's like, fuck. So I think that's why I also reinforce myself. It's like, if you're going to do it, just buy it. If you have the money to do it, like I said, don't do it if you don't have the money, because I've came to that point when I lived at the apartments. If I didn't move out that month, then next month I wasn't going to have fucking shit, because I was not spending my money well. So, I don't think, like I said, we touched on comics, figures,
books and wall art.
Books, wall art. I don't know. I mean, there's other collectibles. I think the greatest thing now is you don't get looked at as bad as if you would like maybe 10, 15 years ago. Where people are looked at you and go,
"Oh man, what a nerd!"
Yeah.
Now it's, "Oh man, what a cool nerd!"
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, I want to be like that guy and have all that shit. I think you can, as we start to wind down, I think you can buy stuff. I'm not a gatekeeper. I don't give a shit. If you don't like something, but you like the figure, I think you can go out and buy it and put it on yourself. You don't have to You don't have to, be a diehard fan. Exactly, because
as long as you like it.
Because like I said, I don't really give a shit. I don't care about Overwatch. I'm more of a Paladins guy. But since Paladins will never release figures, I guess I prefer the Overwatch characters. I don't play the game, but I have a bunch of Overwatch characters. Don't really play the game at all, but as long as you're collecting and you're getting enjoyment out of it, that's fine. But please don't cross the line and buy bulks of something
so you can turn a profit later.
So you can turn a profit, because that, to me, you're not a collector, you're just an asshole. And if you're listening and I'm sorry if you're that person.
If you take offense to that, well, you probably should anyway.
But I mean, because that's
looking at you, guy who bought like 600 Rosalina amiibos.
Oh god, yeah, I remember that story. That was. I think that was another point where people are like, okay. The other thing too is if companies, I get that there's more expense than what they're because you got to go through steps to get stuff made. But if I'm Nintendo over here and I'm hearing people are hoarding shit. Well, if people are going to eBay to buy something for 2 or 3 times more expensive than what they would have getting the figure, just re-release the figure and try to counteract that, so people get screwed on that, and then if people
flood the market.
Because
oh man, some guy bought 600 of these. Well, how about we just release 600 more? So that way now he's stuck with 600.
Exactly. But well, I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. If check back every Thursday, we'll have a new episode. I'm actually figuring last week's episode, I actually put a title on so I record on my tablet and I upload it. I put it in Movie Maker, and because I don't have anything more fancy than Movie Maker. Because I'm spending money on
you probably
figures.
Don't need something more fancy than Movie Maker if you're just going to do plain text.
True.
Or plain
audio. I figured, I'm like, oh, you can put titles. I forgot that you could put titles over it, because on the other podcasts I was just black. So I'm like, oh shit, you can put titles. Because I was originally
so there's some production value in this.
Yeah, one. So last week's episode was the test from like, oh, I could put a title right over top of it. And so, so check back every Thursday. Check back every day for Clip of the Day. And check back every Monday morning, I think it is, for Cornucopia Cornucopia. I was going to check back to our YouTube channel, Cornucopia Realm, but check back for Cornucopia. Wow, Jesus Christ. Everything's...
You've derailed it.
I'm doing so well.
38 minutes in and you derailed it.
Cornucopia Cast. That's where we rank almost every single game, except for mobile and
old games.
Really old games. I think it's really check back to this past episode that's going to come out on Monday. If you made this far, it's about around the same point where somebody says something really egregious, and we really go hard.
Oh boy.
Guys, thanks for listening.
See ya.